The tail end of the year is a time when information is given about, information is opened up from the 30-year record or whatever it is, and government files are made public. And immigration in the UK, this hot button issue in modern politics, owes much to its complexity and to the decisions made during Tony Blair's premiership. In 2004, the Labour government chose to allow immediate free movement for new EU states, a policy hailed by some as progressive but increasingly seen as a miscalculation with long-lasting consequences. And Blair's decision, shaped by flawed Home Office projections, created pressures still echoing in today's immigration debates, and an asylum system grinding under the weight of unresolved claims dating back nearly 2 decades. In the end, the bogeyman in the room, really, isn't it, is always the Home Office. The Home Office is at fault again and again and again, and it doesn't really matter whether it's going on whether it's going on a self-elected go slow called a hostile environment, or whether it's just simply manifesting its incompetence. It's a part of government that simply is not fit for the job. And after 17 years, after 20 years, somebody ought to be blowing the whistle on this mad ministry. The roots of the crisis, this rush to open doors when the EU expanded in 2004 to include 10 new member states, and Blair's government opted for immediate freedom of movement, diverging from most other member states that implemented transitional controls. And this decision, based on predictions that only 13,000 migrants would arrive annually, was wildly off mark, and by 2005, net EU migration had reached 96,000, peaking at 142,000 in 2014. Ministers including Jack Straw and John Prescott urged Blair to delay implementation, warning of housing pressures and benefit system strain. Yet these warnings were dismissed in favour of an optimistic narrative, with Lord Blunkett championing the economic benefits. While free movement dominated headlines, another strand of the immigration system spiralled into dysfunction, and that is asylum. And cases lodged during Blair's tenure remain unresolved, a glaring example of Home Office inefficiency. And among the backlog are claims enmired in counter-terrorism concerns, prisoner deportation appeals, and applicants who have died waiting. Asylum seekers unable to work are housed in taxpayer-funded hotels, costing billions annually, a setup that has also become a flashpoint for far-right protests, and that merits its own protests simply because there are second-rate hotel firms raking in money from the taxpayer, having set up these appalling arrangements with the Home Office, with people like Suella Braverman, over a 2, 3, 5-year basis. And even if the Home Office were miraculously to process all its asylum applications, we would still be paying for these hotel rooms. And what could we do with them then? Well, we could house the homeless. That's a starting point. But we shouldn't be paying these huge contracts to failing hotel chains in the first place. Blair's decision on free movement set the stage for immigration's central role in the Brexit referendum. Jack Straw later admitted the policy was a spectacular mistake, arguing that accurate predictions of migration levels would have killed the idea. And meanwhile, the asylum system's failures, compounded by successive governments, have eroded public confidence in the Home Office's ability to manage migration effectively. The asylum backlog now exceeds 85,000 cases, with processing delays exacerbated by insufficient judges, hearing rooms, and resources. And appeals drag on for years, forcing asylum seekers into prolonged uncertainty and placing unsustainable demands on public finances. The Institute for Fiscal Studies estimates a £4 billion Home Office deficit for 2024 to 2025 due to woeful budgeting. Even Labour's plans to scrap the Rwanda scheme and redirect funds seems inadequate against the scale of the crisis. The immigration crisis today is not merely a story of rising numbers, but one of the failure of a system seeded during Blair's tenure. From misjudged EU policies to an asylum system choking on its own inefficiency, the decisions of the past continue to haunt the present. Addressing this legacy requires more than rhetoric. It demands substantive reform, robust investment, and a willingness to learn from past mistakes. Until then, the ghosts of 2004 will remain in every policy debate, every backlog statistic, every taxpayer bill.